And what is going on, guys? You're listening to the Realest podcast, and welcome to January 2nd, 2017 Smackdown review, or January 3rd, excuse me, not 2nd, to the Smackdown review. And I mean, with the recent Smackdowns we're getting, this has been probably the worst one out of the 3 weeks, but it was still a good show. the The rhythm was great. It was more of a promo show to have storylines continue. We also saw the Intercontinental title go up on the line. We saw a bunch, and I mean, overall, good show. I have Andrew with me. What did you think of tonight?
I thought it was a pretty decent show. I mean, not every show is going to be 10 out of 10, but this show kept me entertained with good solid promos, good solid wrestling, and good solid storytelling. So I mean that's normal for SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Miz promo at the very beginning was good. Um, him basically saying, "I want Renee Young. I want Renee Young." Um, the Intercontinental title wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. It was a good title match. Obviously, Dean Ambrose is now the new Intercontinental title. Um, is this too soon to have the Intercontinental title? Change hands.
For Dean Ambrose winning it.
Well, just in general with the story, because obviously we know that they're going to be wrestling again, and it's going to be at the Royal Rumble. So, like, part of me understands, but part of me is like, well, the storyline is just getting hot. Like, this is actually becoming a very good storyline.
Yeah, a very personal storyline at that, and that's what's most important is putting in that good solid wrestling and the personal um, attacks because it gets people going. It gets people thinking that it's something that has been risky or something that shouldn't have happened or just happening off the cusp.
Right. But, I mean, the question, again, is it too soon to give Dean the title? Like, I'm not saying, because obviously we all agree that we don't think that Dean should be automatically the number one contender with him just going for the WWE Championship like he has been. But is it too soon to have the Miz change titles again?
I honestly think it is. I think I'm surprised that they had him drop the title um, this early. I thought it definitely would have been at pay-per-view when they dropped the title. But yeah, I mean, wow, they decided to have him lose the title, and what it's going to do is it's going to really start to propel this feud and make it more personal now that he has that title.
Yeah, but um, what do you think of the only it makes sense. Like, I'm not hating on it. Like, I'm not over here. I'm not going to complain about it. About well, it's too soon. Should have waited, because I understand why they did it. They need the storyline to continue, and I mean, especially since they did the Intercontinental title tonight, it makes it hard for it to continue and to be fresh with what they're shooting for. So it's understandable. Like, I do understand why they did it, and also I did watch Bring It to the Table last night, and to be completely honest with you, it was okay. The only thing that comes out of Bring It to the Table, which is basically WWE Sports Center, is them saying, "Oh, the internet junkies are just complaining and bitching and complaining, bitching and complaining." So, like,
Yeah, I didn't like that. They're
everything. Go ahead.
they're sort of like putting the blame on the internet community. Oh, well, you're only complaining because you don't like what's going on. Well, they don't like what's going on because they're not giving them material that is worth cheering.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And the thing I don't like about it, and it was okay, like you said, but what I don't like about it is what they're trying to do is get a show that's kind of unscripted, sort of like anything could be said. And even with Paul Heyman, he does his best, and he's one of the best at it, at making you believe things. Everything just felt scripted. Of course, they started saying things about the WWE, and nobody's going to say anything bad
I
about the
don't
WWE.
believe it was scripted. I didn't feel like it was scripted. I felt like it's what they meant, because, I mean, for one, I think it was kind of, the show is more like a, where you guys can go against the WWE. You guys just be careful what you say. It's not completely PG, blah blah blah. So I
I don't
I
know,
don't
man.
I
I
don't
just got
think
a completely different
I don't think
view.
it was scripted at all.
I just felt like it was scripted. It didn't feel like it was something that was kind of off the cup or off the cuff, and all that, and just I don't know, especially with who was there. I mean, the only person that really could be redeemed there is Paul Heyman himself, because he's a genius at what he does. But I don't know. It just, I need a reason to believe that it's something more than that. I just can't go along with it. And for me, it was just like, with everything that was being said, it seemed like something that was scripted, and it was just I just couldn't follow it.
I get where you could think that it was unscripted 100%, or scripted. Like I said, I don't believe that it was scripted. I don't. But I mean, of course there's that part of me that thinks, oh, well, it could have been scripted. But I don't think they'd go through the trouble to get a scripted podcast like that. I don't. So I think it was them just really speaking from more of their side of it, and they're just defending on what they think, because it's rightfully so that they think like this. I mean, if we are to do what be professionals in something, and to be, this is what we do, be successful businessmen. So let's say, I don't know, like, let's say we become great podcast members, and they're saying, and something that we do that is really successful, and a lot of people don't like it, we're gonna be like, well, it's successful, why would we hate on it? Like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I think that's how they look at when we talk about it. And they're just a bunch of internet junkies, they don't know what they're talking about, this is what works. Do you get what I'm saying with that? Because it's a terrible,
Yeah.
terrible example of what I just used, but
Well, yeah, I totally understand what you're saying there, and like, Paul Heyman brought up some great points, and so did JBL, when it comes to like how things are sold. If that makes any sense, like, oh, well, of course they do it this way because this is how it works when it comes to ratings and how we've done it for years.
right. So I don't know. I'm not gonna say me saying I'm not a big fan of it's gonna make it sound like I was offended, which I wasn't offended. I was actually kind of surprised that they went there, but um, it was okay. I liked how they kind of went into things, as in Conor McGregor. They went into the Hulk Hogan situation, and then they were straight up about SmackDown, and so I like it. I mean, I honestly would have liked to hear more of from from uh from Paul Heyman. The show honestly reminds me of Pardon the Interruption on ESPN. If anyone knows what that show is, it's they get like, there was one thing, yay or boo, or and they have a minute to talk about it. I think they should have give some of the segments, both segments. I think they should make it another 30 minutes and like give both people the option to speak on that segment, because I would have loved to hear Paul Heyman's opinion on one of the things. But let's get back on SmackDown. We could talk about the Intercontinental title a little bit later. One more thing I want to speak of is Murray's has the best slap of the roster now. Like, that slap was 100% the best one I've ever seen, and that hurt me. I literally saw the slap, and out loud I went, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, she was really good when it comes to I don't know, man. That slap was that was a doozy. I mean, like I told you earlier, man, it reminded me of classic Stephanie McMahon. But man, this feud is getting good. I mean, with Dean Ambrose coming into the limelight, we were kind of nervous about it. Them kind of switching him to the mid card title if it was too soon. I don't know. They're doing a good job with it. And Maurice is a big part of that, and so is Renee Young.
Yeah, I honestly think that if they don't add the personal as this feud is, I honestly do not think that this feud is that good. I'm glad that Renee Young is okay with, because I hope that they ask permission from both Renee and Dean. Hey, can we use you two? I'm glad that they allowed it to happen. If they did allow it, because this feud is, in my opinion, is 100% because of how personal it is. I thought that Natalya and Becky Lynch, Nikki Bella's feud was good. Theirs is 100 times better. But speaking of Natalya and Nikki Bella, it's just turning into more of the same. Say something about John Cena, make Nikki Bella mad. You don't talk about my man.
Mhm.
and the Natty threw shots at Bret Hart, which that's another thing about the show from WWE Network. JBL went in on Bret Hart, which is 100%. I agree because everything he said was true. Bret Hart was supposed to start the podcast, do podcasts to not be as negative on everyone as he is, which turned into him being very negative and calling Seth Rollins a very unsafe worker, to quitting the podcast world because he was being so negative.
Yeah, and he's been saying that for months. I mean, when it comes to Bret Hart, he's one of the greatest of all time. There's no doubt about it. You really can't hate the guy in terms of like his wrestling ability. He's loved everywhere. But he has a really big problem with a lot of parts of the company, and rightfully so. I mean, he has never been one to kind of pull the punches, especially when it comes to WWE, after how they treated him. And, Seth Rollins is, in some ways, a dangerous person. He's young. He's not quite experienced. I mean, he's getting there. Um, but at the same time, it's a mistake. You know,
Yeah.
it's not something that he can really prevent. People get hurt all the time in the company. It's just a matter of making sure that you're practicing and doing your best to not hurt somebody. And with Bret Hart, it's just a matter of he's always going to speak his mind. And when he says something wrong, people are going to criticize him for it. And if he realizes that's a mistake, he'll publicly apologize for it. But you're going to see that no matter what he does, whether it's a podcast, whether it's him coming on and giving his personal opinion, he won't hold back. And, I got to respect that,
Yeah.
in some way.
When it came to the podcast, it was him, I think, his two sons, and then, because what everyone does with their wrestling podcast, unless it's like JR or Stone Cold or Chris Jericho, is they'll do their podcast, but they'll get someone who's like an indie wrestler, or like get someone that does their own podcast, and they'll basically have that guy lead, and they'll have like, they'll be in the back, or not in the back, but they'll be the colored commentator basically. So, you had Bret Hart and two of his sons in there, so like it was a negative podcast every time they talked, because obviously when Bret would think of something negative, of course, his sons are going to think of something negative, because that's what they've been told, and that's what that's basically what they learned. So, I listened to a few of the podcasts, and it wasn't good. Like Ryback's podcast is super negative towards WWE, but they didn't end on good terms.
Right.
I know that he completely hates John Cena. He doesn't like John Cena because he destroyed Nexus, which there's multiple reports that Cena destroyed Nexus alone. But for Bret Hart, he wants the Hart Foundation to be a part of the Hall of Fame. But doing what he's doing is not going to help him at all.
Right.
So
Yeah. And, Bret Hart should know better than anybody else that that the company tends to distance itself from people that speak out negatively about the company, or do something that kind of brings shame to the company. So, I mean, if you get caught doing drugs, if you get caught doing something you're not supposed to do, if you're negative about the company, they tend to shy away from you. I mean, look at China, for example. I mean, she, for the longest time, she was involved with stuff that WWE frowned upon. And even after she got out of it, the WWE still to this day it hasn't put her in the Hall of Fame.
they probably will now, though.
I hope so. I really do. I think she deserves a place in the Hall
I
of Fame.
do too, but like I think now since she died and passed away, that they'll put her in the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame 100%. But
But
again,
that's the thing with Bret Hart, though. I mean, it's the same
well,
concept.
Brett's in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I know Bret is in the Hall of Fame, but him talking about wanting the Hart Foundation in there is what I'm saying is what could possibly be stopping them from going into the Hall of Fame if they had any plans of putting them there in the
Yeah.
first place.
This is honestly one reason why I hate the any Hall of Fame, not just WWE. like with the MLB Hall of Fame, it's nothing but baseball writers and people that basically do favoritism. Like there's people out there that really deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, but they won't because they had a bad story about them. So it's like it really goes into favoritism when it comes to any Hall of Fame, and that's just the same with WWE. But we need to get on back to SmackDown because we're just getting off topic. But we had the contract signing, and man, I mean, I know it was more of Cena getting his 2 cents on John Cena, and what a great promo from both guys. Great promo.
Absolutely. And are we surprised?
I mean, no,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so true. When John Cena touches the mic, there's nobody else that can do it better.
But here, I want to actually propose this to you, and I want to get your thoughts on this. For me, and I've known John Cena.
Oh, you known him?
Since he's been.
Do
Yeah,
you have his number?
I have his number. I mean, we're but close personal friends. No, I have been watching him since he debuted in the company, and there was something about this promo and the promo from last week that really got to me with John Cena. Like, not in a negative way. Like, it felt as if his original character somewhat surfaced. I don't know if it's just me.
It's more.
Like,
It's more realistic. It's more of like it's more real. Like what he's saying, he feels.
yeah, and with the way he's talking and the way he's speaking, it kind of made a callback to his earlier years where he was the rapper. Like, I just got that vibe from him where he was back to thugonomic Cena, and for me, it gave me kind of chills. I mean, the promo was excellent between the two, but there's been something that has been different. Whether it's that he's really tapping into that fire from the internet critics or what, but he's really tapping into his soul and making the promos worthwhile.
Right.
And AJ Styles, being the genius that he is, doesn't need much of a spark to keep up with John Cena. And when you put those two together, it's like watching an all-star movie.
Cena and Styles did a great job to turn to turn the crowd on Styles and to make the crowd support Cena. That was a great job on both of them. Because I was honestly surprised when I heard Cena, and it was loud. I was like, oh, wow, it's been a while since I've heard that.
There was not many Cena sucks chants, and
where
that
they?
just shows how what's that?
Where were they?
I'm not sure, but they weren't in Massachusetts.
I know they
That's
weren't.
for sure.
They're in Louisiana next week. I know that for sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's interesting to see that it took a few feuds with AJ Styles, but he's the one guy that could really get the crowd back on Cena completely. That could really get those Cena sucks chants out of the way. And
I don't think
tonight
so.
saw that.
I don't think
We
so.
we saw that tonight.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna be real, we can't forget that it's also a smack. It's not a pay-per-view crowd, so there's more kids there. So I wouldn't go off and say that this is 100%. Like this is how they're gonna get Cena back to 100%. Everyone cheering for him. I think people that boo him are gonna cheer for him because one, the guy is doing outstanding, and whenever he does his in-ring work, it's gonna be outstanding also. So I wouldn't go off the limb and say that this is 100% gonna I wouldn't say turn Cena, but it's gonna make it where Cena is not gonna be booed because that'll never happen. But again, another promo by Cena, and it seemed like he felt everything he said. I'm gonna do what I do best, and that's prove every single person that boos me in that crowd wrong.
Mm. And that just goes to show how much of a great superstar he is, and always has been. We say this every week. It's night and day between SmackDown and Raw. Why can't we do this on Raw? Is it just the fact that Road Dogg is much better at writing than whoever they got on Raw? Yeah. I really want to dissect this. Like, what is the difference, and what is the creative process of getting a writer for the WWE Raw team?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I really want to know what the ratings were because last week it was made very public that SmackDown was better than Raw.
I'm sure I'll see it on Twitter soon. Probably by our next show, I'll be able to report on that. It normally pops up like either the day of or the day after. But yeah, well, I'll find out for us. But I would be surprised if Raw beat them again.
I wouldn't be. I mean, in reality, the big reason why SmackDown beat him was the Cena return. I'm hoping, because it's very true what I said last night. And if you guys if you guys did not hear what I said, be sure to tune in. I'll just recap for you. It's very true when I say that if I was a casual fan and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen wrestling in a while, and I go off and watch Raw, and I see how unentertaining it is, I would not tune in on Tuesday because it turns into, man, if this is how Raw, I'm sure SmackDown is even worse.
Right. Yeah, that's a shame too because you're really missing out on a great show if that's the case.
Yeah, 100%. So, I'd like to see the numbers again. I think if we see it happening consistently where SmackDown is beating Raw, we could see a change of writers because I think storytelling wise it's just awful on SmackDown or Raw, excuse me.
And I want to note this too, for the record. It's not just us that's saying bad things about Raw. The WWE creative is acknowledging it. Other podcasts are acknowledging it. It's just everybody has this collective idea that SmackDown is so much better than Raw. And that's a problem. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
There's not even a close divide. It's just overwhelmingly in favor of SmackDown. And you know what? Raw better fix their writing team soon because if they don't, man, I fear for the future of the company.
I doubt that'll happen. I doubt that it'll be, quote unquote fixed or, replaced because I'm sure that, I mean, you can't just do that because I know that SmackDown got rid of a writer, not that long ago, and the writer was the guy that was really big on AJ Styles versus Undertaker, and I know since they've gotten a new writer, that Undertaker versus AJ Styles has been the plug has been pulled on that feud.
Right.
So
I mean, now you got him coming to Raw to boost the ratings.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just
I personally do. I am not a fan of seeing AJ Styles. I am not a fan of seeing the Undertaker on Raw at all.
Well, no, especially after what they did. It would be different if Undertaker said, "You know what? I'm going to be back, and you better watch your back because I'm coming for you." It doesn't really hint that he's staying, that he's going to be doing anything, but he came back on live television, right, and stated that he was back. His only home has been SmackDown Live, and that he's back to digging holes and taking souls. For me, that implies he's going to be around a good chunk of time. He might not be there every week, but we might see him every 3 weeks to at least once or maybe twice a month if we're lucky. Certainly during pay-per-views, and so far we haven't seen him at all. And obviously they're saving him for something big, possibly the Royal Rumble. But it comes down to it's like, how are you going to use the Undertaker? And you guys got to stop criticizing yourself. You got to put him to use.
Yeah, but if he goes into the Royal Rumble, he needs to be one of those super late entrants, 100%. But I think he should only be in the Rumble if he wins it. Only if he's going to win it.
Yeah, there's too many throwaway talents to begin with. So, I mean, put Undertaker in there as a throwaway talent would just be a waste, in my opinion.
Well, not even just, that. It's mainly because of, when you have talent that can win it and really, really capitalize off of it, to turn around and possibly, let's say, for Sami Zayn, he could win it. Or
he could.
Someone more realistic, Finn Balor could win it, but if Undertaker wins it and Finn returns at the Rumble, then it turns into he returned at the Rumble, but nobody capitalizes off of this except Undertaker, and Undertaker's only going to be here for 2 pay-per-views.
Right. But with the Undertaker, I've been hearing a lot of rumors, and a lot of them are really making me nervous. I'm hearing Undertaker going against Roman Reigns. I'm hearing Undertaker versus Braun Strowman. I just there's a lot of things that is planned where they're throwing him into a Raw setting, and it's really making me nervous. Like, I was cool for AJ Styles versus Undertaker. I was even more okay with John Cena versus the Undertaker in future pay-per-views. But from what I'm gathering, a lot of the SmackDown ideas have been pulled, with the exception of the John Cena versus Undertaker feud, and it looks like they're possibly leaning towards a Raw story-driven pay-per-view, most likely with Roman Reigns. And for me, that makes me nervous if they decide to make Roman Reigns the guy that retires Undertaker.
Yeah, I mean, there was a podcast I watched, and they were talking about Undertaker versus Roman Reigns, and how it would mean nothing for both men because they allowed Brock Lesnar to take the streak, and now it's 100% true. If Roman takes a streak, that possibly builds something up for him. You know, and again, I'm not one of those people that, like, I can't stand fucking Roman Reigns. Fuck Roman Reigns. No matter what he does, I hate him. No, I'm more of, yes, I am not a fan of Roman Reigns, but that's because of what we're getting creatively. What is up, Juan? Missed you yesterday.
Juan is back. Yes, we're talking Roman Reigns, Juan.
Oh, yes. Isn't that funny how as soon as we say Roman Reigns, hey, how you guys doing? I'm here. What's going on? Roman Reigns? Yeah, he's the best.
But yeah, I've heard that as a possible rumor, strong rumor, that since now the Undertaker has been slated to come on Raw, that we might see that feud happen. I've also heard that they were talking about possibly Goldberg and Reigns sometime before WrestleMania. Or at WrestleMania instead of Brock versus Goldberg. And I'm like, eh?
Yeah, I just learned that we got copyrighted at Roadblock.
We got copyrighted?
Yeah, we did.
For what?
Well, guys, no longer music will be played on this show. That's 100% a thing now. We're not playing music on the show anymore.
They copyrighted us for the music?
They copyrighted us, but they didn't take away anything, which is what I'm confused about.
Okay.
They did it from our prediction show. Hang on. This is what I'm very confused about. Because I was like, something doesn't seem right. And I was checking, so I was like, oh, check our emails or something. Sure enough, there it is. Oh.
But it doesn't say what it's for, or does it say it's for music?
No, it says there are either ads running on your video with revenue going to the copyright with the revenue going to the copyright owner, or the copyright owner is receiving stats about your videos. So, video title, The Realest Podcast, Roadblock End of the Line Prediction Show, copyrighted song is The Pusher, claimed by, and they're claiming our ad revenue. You can have our 50 cents. It'll be okay. We don't need the 50 cents.
Yeah,
I
whatever.
promise you can have it. I don't need 50 cents.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So, no more music anymore, unless we can find something else.
Yeah, what we gotta do is we gotta get together. We gotta come up with our own catchy opening.
Oh, no one our luck could get copyrighted.
Can't copyright our own opening.
Yeah, but no one our luck. We have the same thing. It's copyrighted.
Yeah, well, we'll have to work it out. It's just ridiculous. But, you know, there's still a lot more to talk about SmackDown, and believe it or not. I mean, at this point, we could have said that if it was Monday Night Raw, we were pretty much done because we had nothing to talk about. But SmackDown Live still has a lot that went on today. For one, I thought that the Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler match was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was pretty good.
Put Roman Reigns song on? Yeah, I'll put it on for like 10 seconds before... Because you can play a song for... no lie, you can play a song for 30 seconds, and it won't be copyrighted. So I'll play like the very beginning for you. Because he asked for it. Alright, that's it. You got 4 seconds. WWE is now shutting down our channel.
No, it's interesting too because I see like if I ever tune into any podcast and they play music, I get out my watch and I time them, and most of the time they go longer than like 10 seconds. Like they go close to 30 seconds, and I'm like, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like you learn the little things about doing shows like this, and like that's one of them.
Yeah, I know like the copyright rules with music with YouTube, but it's like where I get my music from is a channel called non-copyrighted rock music. Like that is literally the channel. It's non-copyrighted rock music.
Well,
And
obviously, it's like Wikipedia if they're copywriting us.
like it's called montage rock. And like what they are is they do not have any they are not a copyrighted band or channel. So it's basically getting look like the description: the best uncopyrighted music for all montages. Be sure to subscribe for regular uploads. All music is uncopyrighted at the time of upload and available for use in your videos. Make sure you credit the artist in your videos using the links in the descriptions. Please note that over time, certain bands may sign to a record company that becomes copyrighted. This is something I cannot control. So I mean, yeah, and we could get copyrighted in the future, but I doubt it'll happen. But needless to say, when this is the second pay-per-view in a row of, or not second, but this is 2 out of the 3 last pay-per-views I've had this happen, where we played one song from them and got copyrighted immediately, and then but they're not hitting us hard. They're just like, hey, don't do that. So, and then we're getting hit with another one. So it's kind of like, okay, well, what the hell, like this and this. But yeah, going back to SmackDown, um, Baron Corbin's getting better week by week. Eventually, he's going to become a main event star. I think he'll win his first title in 2017 or 2018. And we saw a potential heel turn in Dolph Ziggler. He's technically not a heel, but he has shown signs of being a heel.
Right. I mean, it wasn't just that kick. He went off on him, and then backstage, there was an altercation between him and Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews was like, "Yo, he's my friend," and 2 of them got at it.
Yeah, it's just I think that's going to start a feud between those two, and honestly, part of me doesn't mind Dolph being a heel, but then as I told you before we started the show, I think Dolph is in my opinion, I think he's their second best face on the company, behind John Cena. I think he's the second best thing that they have face wise. So it puts them a step back because we've been saying, well, they really need heels because the only heel that they really have is John Cena. The heel they have is AJ Styles. Unless they're planning on having AJ turn face, that would make sense. But now it turns into, will we see Samoa Joe come in and be a part of SmackDown if he does come and debut at the Rumble, that is what is rumored.
I hope he debuts for SmackDown. I think he would fit in perfectly, especially if AJ Styles is going to turn face. Could you imagine the type of feuds that they would have on SmackDown with the writing team that they have? I mean, I know you've been a huge fan of AJ Styles and you've seen those two wrestle in other companies. So, I mean, I would be excited to actually physically see it for the first time myself.
Yeah, it was. I still think the best thing that Samoa Joe ever did was him and Kurt Angle. That was I mean, you don't understand what outstanding is until you see what they had. I mean, good lord.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, we might actually see matches like that come to pass again if Kurt Angle is legit about coming back to the company and soon.
Yeah, so we are going to have to be, shutting down. We're going to have to ending the show pretty soon here. Obviously, we've talked about just about everything. Dean Ambrose is now your Intercontinental title. My next question is, as I stated yesterday, that we learned yesterday that the contract signing was happening today, which the contract signing for the WWE Championship did happen, and I thought it was too soon. I still think it's too soon, and here's why. I think that this contract signing happened too soon because, yeah, it's official, but in my opinion, the best contract signings are when the story builds. I'm talking story goes and builds up. These guys are going at each other week by week, and then the next following week or the week before the championship is the contract signing. These two get in their last bit of words into each other or on each other before their big match. But now it's like we got the contract signing. Now let's just beat each other's ass until the match. So I still think it's too soon. Andrew, Juan, let us know what you think in the comments. Is it too soon?
I think it's too soon because a contract signing typically signals that the fight is near. Normally, you'll see promos or you'll see sneak attacks that will lead up to it, but you won't physically see them in the same ring together. Just the two of them. You'll see them in like a tag team match. All this is good, perfect build up right before the contract signing. The most recent thing we've seen with this has been Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch, and their contract signing was a week before the pay per view, and that signaled the end was coming in terms of Becky Lynch's title reign, and now that they've kind of gone ahead and got the contract signing out of the way for John Cena and AJ Styles, it's kind of like, all right, well, how are we going to sustain this for another 3 weeks?
I don't think that they can. I think they'll be fine. I don't want to say it loses value because I think they'll be able to build the story. But like, I don't know. Probably one of the. I don't know. I'm just rambling on at this point. I just think it was too soon.
I think it's definitely too soon. I think that they should have waited at least another week if they were planning on doing it this early.
Yeah.
But, we can't argue with the product that we got though tonight, though.
No, not at all. It was again, Jonathan Coachman said it best. When you do a show every single week of the year and there's no breaks, obviously there's going to be shows that are better than others, and this is another great example of it. 100%. This out of the past 3 Smackdowns that we've gotten, this has been the weakest one. And it was still really good. I was invested. I was still interested in it. But before we continue this topic of discussion, Thursday night we'll be bringing back Next Big Thing. That is our NXT show. We do not go live with Next Big Thing, so it is going to be pre-recorded. So make sure that if you're not subscribed, you hit that subscribe button and you hit that little bell. That way you know when we upload. It'll be up Thursday night. We're only going to be doing NXT. We actually might have to push it back a week. Who knows? Because I know that as of right now, they're basically doing shows that we've already seen because I think they're on break and they're on vacation. But more than likely, we're still going to be doing the show. And then this Saturday will be the Keeping It Real podcast. As I know that me and Andrew will be doing it. I'm not sure for Kyle or Chris. Chris might be doing it because him and I are going to the local promotion, like our local wrestling show here in Beaumont. So it's going to be after that. So he might be doing it with me. But SmackDown was a good show. I enjoyed it. Good pace, good wrestling, good promos. Any final words for you?
Well, we didn't. I don't think we got into Alexa Bliss, did we? The Alexa Bliss Becky Lynch feud.
No, we didn't. Go ahead.
So, the Luchadores is La Luchadora is now a part of this feud. Came out and interfered last week, and now they kind of pulled twin magic on them. And it was interesting too because as soon as I saw one go under the rope, I'm like, "There's 2 of them, isn't there?" Oh, and up comes another one, and of course, one was unmasked to be Alexa Bliss, but the other luchador that came out kept their mask on, and this is a completely different person that we saw last week. She was shorter. She had lighter skin. It was just like, all right, well, who are they putting behind that mask? Because we know who it was last time. Are they building up for a big reveal on SmackDown?
It could be. It could. There's no telling. I think the women do need heels. In reality, the only heels that they have is Natalya and Becky and Becky, not Becky. Got Alexa Bliss as of right now. Ronnie says, "What do you think about who do you think La Luchadora is?" It's already been confirmed on who La Luchadora is. I don't remember her name exactly, but hang on.
Oh, Danielle Prezzello or
There you
whatever
go.
it was.
Her. And if you don't know who she is, if you remember correctly, Alexa Bliss had to wrestle in a squash match against what's her name? I forgot her name again.
Danielle Prezzelli.
Yes, Danielle Prezzelli. That's who she had to wrestle against. So, and if you remember correctly, she straight up kicked her out, didn't allow her to be in the ring. So, turn around. Wait, there's a Twitter? No, there's not. So you turn around and you start her nails match, because everyone is going into like super super hardcore details on who it is. The nails match her, so that's what everyone is assuming. I'm sure that once we find out who it is, we're gonna have like a different person show up. My guess, we could see Mickey James be under the mask at that time. I doubt Mickey James will be under the mask right now.
Because I don't think they're going to bring her in as a heel.
I don't know. You never know. Deonna Purrazzo, yes, not Danielle. I apologize.
Oh, Deanna. Okay, that sounds right. I knew it started with a D.
I apologize.
Yeah, my bad. I normally know these things off the bat, but hey, everybody could be off once or twice.
No, that's false. You can never be wrong. We do a podcast. You're not allowed to be wrong. Dislike
My
video.
bad. My bad, dog.
Dislike.
But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see who's under that mask. I thought that it could be Peyton Royce. I don't think that she's ready to come up yet, though. So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to somebody that's she's as tall as Alexa Bliss. I mean, they're pretty much the same height, and Peyton Royce is the only shorter NXT competitor that I remember. That's about the same height as Alexa Bliss. So it kind of will be interesting to see who they actually reveal to be La Luchadora and how it's going to play a part in this Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch feud. If this is going to be the way they kind of wean off of it and get Becky Lynch out of that title picture.
Yeah. La Luchadora is kind of like the Adam Rose bunny with all the speculation. Yeah, that is true. There's been it is unreal how much speculation is with La Luchadora. I don't think I've ever heard this much speculation.
Well, and see, that's the thing. When they have something like this where the superstar is masked and they keep interfering like this, it's so interesting because now you have to figure out who it is because it could be anybody. It could literally be anybody. If it were me and I was a betting man, I wouldn't say it's somebody from NXT. I would say it's somebody from the independent circuit, somebody who might have springboarded up the ladder, and that would be okay with me.
Right.
Because it would further add to the mystery. Here we might be thinking of somebody from NXT and being prepared for somebody from NXT or somebody like Mickey James, and for that mask to be revealed to be somebody from, say, TNA or from ROH or from New Japan Wrestling, that just adds to the lore of La Luchadora, and it was like, oh my god, this is who it is.
Yeah. Diamond Dallas Page has been revealed to be the first inductee in the 2017 Hall of Fame.
Man, does he deserve it. I mean, you hear all these inspirational stories about how he changed a lot of Hall of Fame lives. Like most recently, like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. A lot of those guys were really having a tough time in their lives, and not only that, but having a tough time adjusting and getting back into a healthy lifestyle. And I hear that DDP yoga does wonders for people. I've read a lot of reviews about it. I've read testimonials from other WWE superstars who've tried it. Recently, Mick Foley talked out about it in his television show on the WWE Network. And him and Noel tried it out, and Noel really enjoyed it as well. So I mean, you when you dedicate so much to the business, um, especially when it was he was one of the older wrestlers in WCW, and people criticized him for being older and didn't think that he was going to make it. And what he did, he pushed through the barriers, and even more so, he contributed outside the company and helps a lot of Hall of Famers, get back to the lifestyle that they remember.
Yeah.
So well deserved, absolutely.
He saved Jake the Snake's life.
Yeah,
He also really turned around Scott Hall, but Scott Hall continues to have his problems. I'm just going through the news to try to see if there's anything really going down before we end the show. Ronda Rousey's broken. She can turn into broken Ronda Rousey after her fight. Uh, we're not into UFC, but man, she needs to retire after that fight, or she needs to just be in the gym 24/7. I mean, really nothing. I mean, Daniel Bryan Daniel Bryan headline this year's WWE Hall of Fame? Part of me wants to say no. Part of me wants to say wait a little while, wait a couple of years. Um, Samoa Joe's ready to jump to the main roster, but I mean, other than that, really nothing. Um, really nothing going on. We've really talked about everything. I think with that being said, I think we are going to end up again. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free. You don't have to pay for anything. You could also hit the notifications button. That way you know when we're live and we do our shows. We do our shows every Monday and Tuesday. We go live every Monday and Tuesday with the Monday Night Raw review and the SmackDown review. And then Thursdays is next big thing where we talk everything NXT. We give our thoughts on NXT. And then obviously on Saturdays is Keeping It Real. Keeping It Real will be going on this Saturday, and I cannot wait. I have so much to do Saturday. I did not realize how busy my Saturday is now. I got to go to the local wrestling thing. I also have a podcast to do. I have 2 podcasts to do on Saturday. If you guys are fans of video games and pop culture, well, just everything in general, I am co-hosting another podcast. I'm not leaving the Realest podcast. No, not at all. And it's not a wrestling podcast. So I will be on another podcast. It's Tainted Nation Gaming. That is where the podcast is going to be happening. So I will be live there that Saturday, and if you guys cannot catch it, I'm trying to talk him into allowing me to record it. That way we can put it on this channel also. So, also follow us on Facebook. On Facebook, we're The Realest Podcast if you want to search that, or you can click the link in the description. On Twitter, we at Realest Podcast. We are going to start getting a lot more active on social media than we are. For Andrew, I'm Blake Carter, and until next time, peace out. Well, if it'll allow me to open XSplit, we'll be able to peace out. Okay, now we can peace out.